So I have played the beta of Sword of Legends Online, Beta 1 and Beta 2, and I will reflect on it as a Blade and Soul player. So expect me to be a little bit more biased than other content creators maybe, but I try to be as neutral as I can be, and I will try to compare Blade and Soul and Solo according to my preference and what I think people would like more or maybe not in each game. I try to be fair. That being said, welcome back to another video on Solo and Blade and Soul, where I compare both of them and give you my 2 cents on it, on the beta and what I expect from the game, what my experience has been like, and what I expect from Blade and Soul also in the future, because Blade and Soul and Solo will both of them actually release around the same time, at least in summer this year. So Solo maybe a little bit sooner, I think maybe 1 to 2 months before Blade and Soul Unreal Engine 4, but they are still relatively close and they are competitive to one another. So it's very important to actually know which game is for you, because Solo you have to pay for it and it's a buy to play game, but it's not pay to win. And you have Blade and Soul, which is a free to play game, but it has pay to win. First things first, Solo, what is it like to create your own character? Character creation is pretty good in my opinion, but what people will not like, perhaps depending on what you like as aesthetic for your character, you won't have many color options because they will not deviate too much. But that is also a thing in Blade and Soul, but you have more options there. And you cannot create a character that's not Eastern, at least for now. Maybe they will change that. I'm not really sure whether they will or will not do that, but it seemed like they would try to change it, but I'm not sure about that. So far, what I've noticed, that's that you can only play as a Chinese or Asian character and not make it more European or American or whatever you want it to be. So that's a thing you have in Solo. In Blade and Soul it's not as restricted, you can change the appearance actually more if it comes to that. Though outfits, you have a very similar system yet different compared to Blade and Soul. So you will be wearing your items, like your gear, let's say earrings and whatever accessory you have, the drop, and you can wear it, but you will be able to skin it in your U menu, which is your cash shop, where you also have your wardrobe. I'm not really sure if it's called wardrobe, but let's call it wardrobe for now. And there you can actually select what kind of outfit you want to use as a skin, and also your accessories and extra weapons, which are pretty cool actually. If you buy, for example, 2 swords, it has an emote for it, which is really cool, and I would like to see that in Blade and Soul as well. And that's really something I like about Solo. But it's kind of like if you are playing Blade and Soul, you can alternate the skin of your weapon, for example, and that you do by having a weapon skin, and then you have to spend some gold on it to actually exchange the skin for the weapon you're actually using. And that's quite similar in Solo, but you have to do it for everything you want to change as your appearance to be. So that's the point. It's interesting, it's a very interesting system, and I personally would like it more to be like Black Desert, for as far as I know the game, because I don't know the game that well, but I know you can actually get yourself an outfit and just select it if you have it, and you don't have to spend gold on it to actually use that as a skin. It's free, which is nice, and that's something I'd like to see in Solo, but it's fine this way actually. Other than that, combat, that's very important here. And to be fair, at first I did not like the combat as much at all actually, because it was so all over the place for me. I had to use a lot of keys, which were not close to each other. So let's say 1 through 8, they are relatively close to each other, but not as I'm used to in Blade and Soul, where it's 1 to 4, or 1 through 4 I mean. Then you have E and Q, F, Z, X, C and V, and tab. So that's relatively close, because I can just use my hand like this and just move it up and down, left and right a little bit. That's it. And with the 1 through 8 buttons, which I was using originally, I have to move my fingers from the WASD and jump up to 7, 8, for example. And that was really inconvenient for me. And later I changed it up as it was gonna be more like my Blade and Soul layout, which was the 1 through 4, QE, F, Z, X, C and V with tab. And WASD also there in between, of course, for the movement. And when I did that, I was enjoying the game way more. And other than that, it is absolutely interesting and fun. It's engaging, and you will have to dodge. About dodging, it's not necessarily like Blade and Soul, but also similar. So what I mean is, we have a backstab in Blade and Soul, which is your SS, double S, and you will go back. You can do that as well in solo, but you can also do it on a different way, like you do in Vindictus, which I played as well a long time ago, so like 5-6 years ago by now. I don't play it anymore. But what I mean is, you have to press any directional input and shift, dodge. And then you will have a cooldown of about 8 seconds, I think, if you're playing a Spearmaster, because I don't know about other classes what's like. I think it's the same cooldown. And movement is kind of different. Come from Blade Master myself as a lightning spec specifically, in which I have quite a lot of movement. And the Spearmaster actually has quite a lot of movement as well, but in this game it feels completely different. Like, I am quite a lot more static, and I have some moves I can use to gap close or just move around and iframe, but it's not really iframing, I think, in this game. And also you will have a block or parry mechanic, which is called a damage reduction skill. So it's not like a Blade Master 1 block. It's not gonna defend you from all damage that's coming from the front, unless it's an AoE damage that's a red circle or purple, like in Blade of Soul that is. And instead you will take damage still, but less damage. And I haven't really figured out how it exactly works. I think after a certain amount of hits, while having a certain amount of a full stack of the yellow or red spearheads, then you can counter. So I think it's more like a parry, a counter parry, something like that. I'm not really sure, I didn't look it up. I just was playing the game how I would play a game going in blind, without a guide, just playing the story and everything that's there. And that's what I figured out so far. Also, talking about the stacks in as a Spearmaster, because I was mainly playing as a Spearmaster, I have played 2 other classes as well, and I played them through level 5, no, maybe 10, both of them, so I didn't really play them much. I played Spearmaster most of all, but I ended up at level 27 at the end of Beta 2. And the main reason for that is, when doing the story, there were certain points where I did not know where to go. One reason is that I did not read anything, and I just followed the question marks and arrows I have, the waypoints. That's what I actually was going for. I wanted to play that, just do it, and then go ahead and level up. Eventually, when I was actually tracking my quest, I could not find how to get there. So there is this special island that's actually all white, and your trees are white. It feels very Minecraft-ish to... It's not really like Minecraft, but it's... if you have played Nier Automata and you went to the Kopit city, I don't know if it's called that, where you fight Adam, it's all white. It's very simple, and that's the location I'm actually talking about in this game. So if you have played Nier Automata, you know what I'm talking about, and if you play solo, you probably will know as well what I'm talking about. So I was tracking that quest, and it was showing me I had to go there. So I understood, okay, I had to go there. But the thing is, I could not find how to get there. So I was stuck at that point, and probably it's just something really easy. I think it was something about getting drunk or something. I don't know. I really didn't read anything, so that's on me. But still, I would like the game to actually guide me a little bit better when I'm trying to find my quest and actually do it and finish it. Because I was stuck there, and there was a lower level quest which I hadn't finished because I was failing at the time trial there, and I thought just skip that and just do auto quests, right? That's what I did, and I just couldn't find it. So there's that. And some people will not like the hand holding Blade and Soul does, but I think that's really good for if you just want to level up and just get to the end game as quickly as possible. Then the hand holding isn't that bad, and tracking your quest is in general just pretty nice to have actually. As long as it's not hand holding in combat, for example, then I don't like hand holding at all. Just help me find the quest and let me do it. That's all I need. So I failed there, but I think also there has to be something that actually improves the flow. And there are multiple points in the game when you're doing the story where you won't be able to continue the story because you have to have a certain level, so you need to do something. And first I was thinking about, like, I don't know what to do because I'm stuck here, and normal mobs don't really give me XP, or very little, just like in Blade and Soul does. What do I need to do now? So I forgot we have dungeons, and you can see a dungeon video here right now, or a few minutes ago, I don't know. I will edit later, of course, but you will see me playing a dungeon, and doing dungeons actually gives you a lot more XP, and it will give you gear which you can use to gear up, which is obvious. Now, talking about dungeons are kind of similar, yet very different when you play it. Though I have to say I haven't reached endgame in solo, so it may be completely different at endgame. I'm just speaking from someone who became level 27, just 27, and hasn't been able to experience everything of the game. So keep that in mind when judging this game. It's not bad. It's not a bad game at all. It's a really good game, in fact, and definitely not pay to win. So there's that. That's a big win. But what I wanted to talk about was, so I did do a dungeon, or multiple dungeons actually, but I did a certain dungeon in this video, and there I had the final boss. I was fighting him. He had some specific attacks he did, but it didn't feel like you really had mechanics to deal with. Only you had to dodge some attacks and you had to DPS him down. That's pretty much it. Knock him down to deal more DPS. It's very simple. To be fair, so you don't necessarily have to do it either, but when you're doing the story, let's say you're level 36 and you're going to Tomb of Exiles. It is a dungeon with mechanics, with plenty of mechanics actually, but you don't necessarily have to do them. But when you play solo and you're not overpowered, then I think you will have to do some mechanics, where you have to run around, you have to block, etc. I don't know the mechanics anymore. It's been a long time since I last did Tomb of Exiles, like 5, maybe 6 years ago, something like that now. I think 5 years. But I felt like it's more button mashy in solo than it is in Blade & Soul, unless you're really strong or there's no enrage timer or specific mechanics you have to deal with, because not every dungeon has that. And especially nowadays, most dungeons don't wipe you if you don't do the mechanics or when an enrage timer hits, because they are lower level dungeons. But that's something to look out for. If you like doing mechanics in dungeons, have it more technical, I think Blade & Soul is clearly the winner here. But it could be different at endgame, so don't judge it too hard here. And I'm definitely going to look at it when the game releases again. Don't know when the release date is, but I'm looking forward to that and actually see it for myself. I could be totally wrong here, and make sure to reply here in the comments and actually tell me where I'm wrong, because I'm sure I am wrong somewhere. Yeah, it is a different game, so it's very classic. Yeah, let's say traditional. That's what I was looking for actually. So it's a traditional game, and meaning you have the tank, healer, and DPS. So as a tank, you won't heal as much as you are used to in Blade & Soul at endgame, at least. I don't know if you will at endgame. I think you probably will heal more with using your skills, but I'm not really sure, because we have healers in this game, and they are mandatory if you're doing higher level dungeons, or at least higher difficulties of the dungeons you're doing. That's what I said in the live streams. I can't judge it because I haven't been able to do that, because I haven't reached the end game at all, and I had to reach that before I could do hard mode or normal mode. In fact, I could only do drill, which is the easiest mode ever. So that's also something to keep in mind. I did drill mode. Maybe there are mechanics, but because that's drill mode, it's for beginners really to get used to the game. So another difference in Blade & Soul compared to solo. In Blade & Soul you have the CC bar, where you can see, oh, you have to do this many CCs, the same CCs. For those who don't know what a CC is, crowd control. For example, stun, daze, or knockdown in Blade & Soul, and in solo it's, I think, just a knockdown or stun. I don't know, it's not as defined, I think. But in solo you don't have that, but you can still use a knockdown or a stun ability, I think, to stun bosses or knock them down to deal more damage. So it's kind of similar, but not really. It's kind of hard to explain until you have tried it yourself, and then you understand what I'm meaning. And again, I just played drill mode, and I'm talking about mobs as well. So the last point here I can really talk about, because I haven't reached endgame. I'm just stating it again, just to make sure people don't judge me too hard for saying the stuff I'm saying. I'm just talking about what I've noticed, what I did, of course. And open world boss fights, they are pretty good actually, and their healers are important as well. I kept dying, and even though I'm actually very accustomed to combat and actually doing boss fights and doing mechanics, tanking, etc. in Blade & Soul, you can actually use those skills in solo, but it's so different because you will not heal as much, or not really heal at all using your skills. So it's really hard to survive unless you have healers around, especially when you're fighting a boss, a world boss that's really tanky and really strong. So that's mandatory in this game. You need tankers, you need DPSers, you need healers, and that's something Blade & Soul doesn't require you to have, not in this degree at least. But this is very traditional, and I actually enjoy it, but also feel like sometimes I don't really enjoy it as much. I just want to do a dungeon or just want to fight a boss without having to rely on someone else to actually give me my health back. I want abilities for that, but I won't judge it for that. The game is how it is, and it's just totally fine the way it is. I just am very accustomed to Blade and Soul and how that works. For example, I play Blade Master, Lightning Blade Master. I always tank or am the DPS, and I will heal up doing certain skills like my C ability, 1 strike 10 cuts. It's my strongest ability, and it will give me a lot of health back when I hit it. And that's something I'm so accustomed to, so used to, that is so different for me and so hard to survive in this game when I fight boss fighters if I don't plan ahead where I have a healer in my team and a DPS. Otherwise, I as a tank may die in boss fights. I don't know why I said that, but that's something I need to get used to, and it's really interesting. It's really fun because I'm not really used to traditional MMOs. But I think that's actually a good and maybe a bad thing about the game. But I could say the same about Blade and Soul, because you don't really have those roles. It's very easy to just play it. That the entry level for that is actually easier, lower. I think the bar is lower than for solo. When you want to do a boss fight, when you want to do a dungeon, you need to plan ahead. You need this many healers, this many tanks, and this many DPSers, and you need to plan ahead. Then gather your team and then go in and do whatever you need to do in that dungeon and make sure the communication is good. Otherwise, you're gonna wipe as well. And in Blade and Soul, it's not as thought through because everyone can heal themselves, DPS and tank, but there are certain classes which are better for certain roles. For example, Blade Master is better for tanking than, let's say, a Gunslinger is, unless you have certain bosses like Amasa in SP where you need a range tank for her. So there you can just gather randoms. Of course they need to know mechanics as well and need to have enough DPS to do it, but in general you don't need to think too much about grouping up with people and then just doing the dungeon, unless you're doing raids perhaps or the max level dungeons. But in general it's pretty easy to get into dungeons if you have enough attack power and you know what you're doing and you know the mechanics. Then you can do the dungeon. So I think in solo you more likely are thinking about the build of your team. So you need a tank, how many tanks do we need, how many healers do we need, and what kind of spec will you play as. Will you play ranged, will you play DPS, close combat, as a healer, that you can choose depending on your class, of course. And in Blade and Soul you can do it kind of as well. Of course, with your P menu you can choose what you want to spec. If you want to tank, which made it easier for everyone to tank actually, because before you had only certain classes would have threat on their skills, but now everyone has it if you just spec it. But there we just look at mechanics, mostly mechanics. Can we do the mechanics with the party we have? Fine. If we can do it, fine. If we can skip it, even better. And I think that's the major difference between those games. Of course, again, I only have played it to level 27, which would scale to about level 40, maybe 30 in Blade and Soul, because we have 60 levels. I don't know, I just guessed it, because the solo has 37 levels. So about that, maybe 45 nowadays in Blade and Soul. But playing that, my conclusion is I like the game. I actually really like the game. The combat is good, but I prefer Blade and Soul. Just the combat in Blade and Soul is, in my opinion, better. Maybe because of the class, maybe because I don't know solo combat that well yet. I don't know the skills specifically and how to utilize them properly. I did figure out how to stack So you have yellow spearheads you can stack. If you have 5 or 6 of this, then you have it full. And if your meter is full, you will be able to do to unleash a set amount of skills. I don't know how exactly to explain this, but if I press my left mouse button, I start my combo. That's actually what I wanted to say. And you can also stack the red spearheads if you have 5 or 6. I don't know how many you need to have, because I think it's 6. If it's full at least, then you will be able to unleash the combo again with the mouse button. So that's interesting, and I like that, because you need to watch what you're doing. And I think one is more for tanking and one is more for DPS, but I'm not really sure. I didn't look it up, I just guessed it. I could be totally wrong, so you know that. So my verdict, I will stick to playing Assault as the main game on my channel. I may play solo as well on this channel and upload some videos, but I think that game is for now not as enjoyable for me as Plain Assault is, despite the very many flaws Plain Assault has. I'm not blind, I may be a little biased, that's obvious, because I have played the game for 5 years, and solo I've only played for a little over a week, to be fair, 1.5 weeks, something like that, in which I didn't play it all that much actually, because I didn't enjoy it that often. So that's my 2 cents on that. It's a great game, and I will have to see what it is like at endgame. What I do know is you will have mini games like Snake or Bomberman. If you know those games, older games, maybe you're younger and you don't know the game, look it up. It's pretty fun to do that when you're bored or just done with doing your dailies or the raids, for example. I don't know, we don't have raids yet in solo, but we will get it later. But dungeons are dailies, certain of them. Yeah, we have that, and if you're bored and you don't want to do it and you're done with fishing as well, because fishing is also a thing, it's not very interesting but it is a thing, then you can just play that. And I actually think that's a really smart idea to actually implement in games. Have something for leisure other than focusing on gearing up or leveling something. Make it fun. Give us something that we will enjoy when we don't want to do the jobs we have to do in the game. And I think Plain Assault has to learn from that as well. Just take that from solo, and your game will be more chill for us as well. Because all we do in Plain Assault is just grind, work our asses to actually get better, and that's it. That's pretty much the essence of Plain Assault. You do that. Of course it's a green game, you have to expect that, but still we need something to actually chill out and have fun. Just straight up fun and nothing else. That's something Plain Assault really needs. And of course we need to fix the pay to win. I'm not thinking that will change at all, if not for the wars. So yes, you now know my 2 cents on it. If you like games that are traditional, or you don't like pay to win at all, you hate it so much that you will feel disgusted by it and don't want to have anything to do with it, stay away from Plain Assault and just go play solo. You will enjoy it. So my advice would be, if you're not in Plain Assault already, go to solo, unless you really like what Plain Assault has, because the story is really good, but I cannot compare it yet to solo because I skipped through the story because I wanted to actually see it in English when it's fully done, when the game is released. So that's why I skipped the story and I will not compare that. But I think the story may be good. But yeah, that's pretty much actually what I wanted to say. This is a little bit long video, but I tried to explain myself as much as I possibly could, and I wanted to give you a very thought through opinion on this game compared to Blade & Soul. As a Blade & Soul player myself, I didn't want to act too biased and just be logical and just tell you this is what I like, here's why, and this is what I didn't like as much, and here's why. And I think I actually did that pretty well. It's up to you to judge, of course. Yeah, that's that. I hope you liked this video and hope to see you in the next one. Make sure to like this video, share it with your friends and family and whoever you want to share it with, of course. Join my Discord if you want to. We're just chilling, hanging out, playing together, and just hanging in comms, of course, or VC. And I also have a Twitter. I don't do too much with that, but I will check on Twitter to see the news on Blade & Soul and Unreal Engine 4, which will be getting very soon, I think August, but still we don't have a release date yet. This Wednesday, Korea will have Unreal Engine 4 on their live servers, and the new stuff that's coming with Unreal Engine 4 will be released at the end of this month, so we have to wait for that. One thing is confirmed though, we'll be getting mounts, specifically horses. So that's interesting, really cool. Didn't want to make a separate video for that because I don't have much to say, besides it looks really cool and I like it. Yeah, that's it. See you next one. Peace.